Hope you guys had a great and safe Memorial Day weekend. We got a special treat for you today. I had a chance to sit down with new Bucs offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard, and one of the younger offensive coordinators in the league, a guy who has never called a play, in professional football or college football. But man, what a story! What a path he took to the NFL, unlike anybody else's. From a little town, called Lizard Lick, North Carolina. Just outside of Raleigh, Tobacco Road. Basketball, of course, was king. He played that as well. And then went to Yale as a quarterback. And then from Yale, after graduating, that wasn't enough. He wanted to get challenged as a grad student. So he went to Duke and was a grad assistant under David Cutcliffe, who was Peyton Manning's head coach. And then on to the Miami Dolphins, where he stayed through 3 coaching changes. And last year came to the Bucs as their passing game coordinator. At least Todd Bowles has some continuity of the system, but it is a challenge for a young coach like Josh Grizzard. Oh, by the way, all he has to do is average 29.5 points a game, as Liam Cohen did last year, and get a head coaching job in Jacksonville. The year before that, it was Dave Canales who came over from Seattle, and he got a head coaching job with the Carolina Panthers. So no pressure, just be one and done here. But I actually think it's a good decision to keep some continuity finally for the Baker Mayfield and these guys. Anyway, very interesting story, and you'll learn a lot about Josh Grizzard, as I did. I hope you guys enjoy this interview in just a minute. But first, hey, I want to make sure you get on down to Brightling Boutique at International Plaza Mall. They have been our sponsors for a good while now. And listen, if you're looking for a great timepiece, I'm talking about once-in-a-lifetime timepiece, the Brightling Company has been in business for, over 140 years. They've been at International Plaza, Brightling Boutique has, for more than 5 years. And they have great watches, the Navatimers, the Chronomats for the men. They also have ladies' watches for your wife, for your girlfriend. These are sports watches and all kind of different colored wristbands. She's going to love them, and you will too. So in addition to these fantastic watches, they've been having this opportunity to get one of the NFL team watches. All 32 teams they have done a watch for, and it's to celebrate the NFL's 104th year anniversary. Now, this is while supplies last. So if you're an NFL fan, you want to get down there and take a look at these beautiful Chronomat watches. They have the team colors as the face. They have the logo. It's just sensational. So it's Brightling Boutique. Go to the center of the mall, upstairs, second floor. You're going to love the customer service. You're going to love learning about these watches. Spend some time there. Have a drink. Have a cocktail. And I guarantee you won't regret walking out with the greatest timepiece you've ever owned. Brightling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Make sure you let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Tell me, through your stops, and this may go back to your time as a player or even when you were starting your coaching career, but who are those guys that you worked under that have sort of formulated your ideas about offense? Who do you, there's always who do you steal from, right? Yeah. We're all thieves in this my business too, but for you, who have had those impactful impressions for you?
I would say that it's offense, but it could go back to being in high school, from my high school head coach, Jimmy Williams, on how his mantra would be physical. And so that was some of those training camps we had there were some of the most physical ones and toughest ones. It felt a lot like you did it out there today.
Really?
And so that sticks with you because you know how difficult it is, and it's not really designed to be fun for anybody involved. But going through, I would say, getting to the coaching side of it from there, I learned a ton from Tony Reno. That was the head coach when I was at Yale the last year, allowed me to coach and be a part of that. Mm-hmm. And then being able to have the foundation of learning under Coach Cut. I would say that was really the biggest influence because I played quarterback as a kid, played safety in high school, or played safety in college. So when I got a job, I didn't really care if it was on offense or defense, but having a chance to go work at Duke and work on offense and his history with developing quarterbacks, not just
Peyton Manning, man.
But now you got Eli, there's Dad. We recruited Daniel Jones. I mean, the list goes on and on about the guys he's put in the NFL. So I knew foundationally on the principles of playing the position, I was in a good spot.
Yeah.
But I worked under a couple different coordinators there in the Ropers. I learned a ton from Scotty Montgomery, who was calling plays there for one of the seasons, and then be able to get into the NFL and learn the NFL system from Adam Gase.
Mm-hmm.
and then seeing how Coach Flo looked at offenses from a defensive
From a
lens.
defensive standpoint, yeah.
So that was huge to be able to pick his brain. And then I wouldn't have said this before. I wouldn't be able to get the job in Tampa without working for Mike McDaniel for 2 years. And then that kind of puts the system together of things that you believe in fundamentally, schematically, drill work that you can hang your hat on. So being able to be with him and that staff for 2 years was invaluable because it kind of brought things that I believe together into one package rather than having piecemeal of like all these different coordinators I've been around.
It's interesting about McDaniel is that, we see him coming from that San Francisco Shanahan type tree. He was, for as much as we think about them as a passing type offense and the motions and everything, but out there he was their run game guy.
Absolutely.
Right? So what did you learn about the run game from him as much as you did some of the concepts that he has with the motions and things?
Yeah, it's that there are the fundamentals that I know they're doing right now in practice because they do it essentially every year, and it's you're hanging your hat on it, and it's very similar to what we do. So the players know that this is what we're trying to get out of this play. And then he does an unbelievable job of explaining the schemes and why you're trying to run certain runs versus different fronts or coordinators or techniques. Mm-hmm. So being able to group those into a coherent game plan was really cool to see. And then just like the way you can relate to players as well, and then keeping it light but knowing you're gonna get the work in was like I said, it really helped me a ton.
Yeah, your story is compelling. It's unlike many coaches that I've seen in the NFL to come as you did through a small town in North Carolina, Lizard Lick, and then to Yale, and I guess that wasn't hard enough. You wanted to do some grad stuff with Duke. Most people would look at that, and we've talked about this. Like, man, you got to go to Wall Street, or you got to be a lawyer, or you got to be a doctor, whatever. Like. It was football for you, but that education and your achievement to do that, like where did that come from? What did that mean to you to have that foundation for what you're doing now? Which is there's not a lot of guys that have your resume in academia.
I was fortunate to be able to go there and get a great education, and the same thing, like getting a job at Duke and then having the grad degree from there. I guess I always just looked at it like I wanted to be in football and coaching, and that. If I did an internship, not on Wall Street, but with a bank, and I just knew that I could work hard at this and it would be fun, and then hopefully I could get to coaching the NFL and do all those things.
Right.
But I just, I don't know. This is definitely not what my buddies are doing. They're all kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
And not that I didn't
but
consider.
But they're looking, not to just downgrade anything they're doing, because they might be multimillionaires, I don't know. But they're looking at you going, how fun is that? Look what Josh is doing in the NFL.
Oh, they bring it up all the time, is that they're appreciative of what they're doing. And like you just said, and then now them being in the mid-30s, they're doing well financially, but they still love football. So they're definitely envious that I can come and sit in here and go to practice today versus doing whatever they're doing, which I have no idea.
Yeah. When you're handed the keys, right, and it's yours, how does that change? How you prepared for this kind of your whole life, but huge responsibility. We all know, the resume doesn't say call plays, or that there's such a high expectation with this team, with this franchise. How do you absorb all that? And I know you've prepared yourself for this moment, but do you have to put your stamp on this and say, hey, I know what we've done. There's some carryover here, but these are my ideas, and we're going to do this?
Yeah, for sure. You have to stick to your guns. It's something I knew going into it, but you just never know when that's going to show up with the communication with the players or the coaches. And so I have to stick to what I believe in. And some of that's been making minute changes to things. There could be a disagreement on things, and they could see it one way, and at the end of the day, it is our unit, but my name's on it. So sticking to what I believe in, and if I have that much conviction in something, it's just we're rolling with that, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so you just never know how it's going to pop up from day to day, and just also you hear it, but just being in that seat of people coming to you with different, whether there's problems or questions, or just being able to be open with them and communicate with them, and just know that they are bringing something up that they feel strongly about it. And so you need to give them the time of the day to hear it out and see if we can get on the same page about it.
How much of an advantage was it for you that you were here that you know these guys and you know them on the grass. They know you. You were in charge of third down. You guys were real successful on that. You know Baker. Like, just how much better did that make the transition than if you were coming cold? Like,
Yeah, invaluable.
Yeah.
Invaluable. It just not having to have those conversations on getting the offense off the ground like
Right.
we were having last year. It was just what can we do to get ready?
Yeah.
So no, it's invaluable. It goes without saying because getting 11 starters back and being able to add guys that we believe in, it's made it. I wouldn't say like seamless, but it's. I definitely have looked at it like, wow, if I was getting this job here, and I didn't have the support of the coaches that are around me, how much more difficult this would be just to get the ball snapped in phase 2.
Yeah. Nobody's had maybe more schemes, more transition than Baker Mayfield, right? I mean, you look at, I think when he got here, it was his 4th team in like 18 months or 20 months or whatever it was. All that's in there, right? But now he gets to build on what he did finally from a terminology standpoint, and then have you kind of elevate him further. What have you learned about Baker, both as a football intellect and also we see his leadership, and I don't think he's a hard guy to like or follow. But
Right.
how does that make your job better or easier or harder?
It makes it. I would say it makes it easier because generally speaking, if we come to him with a new concept or idea, he's at least willing to give it a run. And
Yeah.
we're working through that right now, and
Yeah.
then you really get a chance to see it once we go against the defense. Is this something he believes in? Thinks that he can execute? Is going to be schematically sound, and he's not really closed off on anything. Like, hey, I don't want to do that. He's open to it. It's a lot like I was talking about. There was a conversation I have with a coach, and they want to bring something to my attention. They've thought about it, and they think that this is something that's going to help us win. So if we design something that could be new for him, we're not just slapping it out there. It's like, hey, that thing that's going to give us a competitive advantage, and he's willing to try it.
Do you think that's because of all the systems that he's had to learn, and that because some guys would say, I know what I am now. I don't want to have to learn anything else, but he's actually tried so many different things that I guess he's open to it.
Yeah.
From that standpoint.
I think he believes in the principles of it.
Yeah.
Dating back to last year.
Right.
I think he saw the success we had in the field. And I don't want to get too caught up in the actual scheme of it
Yeah.
because you can have the scheme, but if you don't have the functional pieces on the field. So
That's true.
he also knows that we're very talented at every position on offense.
Yeah.
And so if we're trying to do something that's going to put the pressure on the defense, that we've thought it through and something that can help.
Yeah. What do you want to see him do different, better?
Better?
Or protect himself.
Protect
maybe.
himself. Yeah. We know he's tough. We know he'll grind it out. We know he's been really good scrambling. But at the end of the day, we don't want to see him take those hits. We want to see him play every game of the regular season and make a playoff run.
Yeah.
And so that's been the biggest thing, because he can be a little bit knucklehead when it comes to that. But
What you love, his greatest strength is maybe his greatest weakness in some regards, right? Like knowing when not to have that offensive line mentality, if you will.
Yeah, he's got to protect himself at the end of the day, and it's something that we put the onus on the offensive line and the backs and the receivers, that to get sacked, we didn't look at it like it's acceptable to be sacked that many times last year. Right. So, was it a bust in protection? Did the back not pick somebody up? Did the receiver run the wrong route and he's holding on to the ball?
Yeah.
So it is coach speak, but it is all 11. Like you look at the sack reel, and it's not just one position that was off on that play. It really is. Here's the quarterback, here's the tight end, here's the running back, and it all develops into that number from last year.
Most games in the NFL, or a lot of games in the NFL, aren't won, but they're lost. You beat yourself, right? And it's hard to be perfect in this game. Nobody is. And you have to overcome mistakes, obviously. But there were moments in big games. I know you guys probably we always look at the last game, right? And you only had like 6 or 8 possessions, whatever it was. But one mistake, right, on a jet sweep, right?
Yep.
You could question the call, you can question the X. But like those little things on a goal line with Graham, like how much can you really try to coach or get that eliminated from, because there's going to be mistakes in this game, obviously, but self-inflicted ones, is that kind of the focus to?
Yeah, it's the self-inflicted ones. And to your point, you can never eliminate all of it.
Of course.
But if we can eliminate things that are happening pre-whistle and post-whistle, and if it happens in the middle, then that's what we're trying to eliminate as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it comes down to a lot of it situationally, which we've harped on and will continue to harp on, is what's the best play call for this situation? If this situation comes up, can we get all 11 guys on the same page?
Mm-hmm.
When do we want to force the ball down the field and see if we can make a play versus, hey, let's just check it down. Let's kick a field goal.
Yeah.
Let's punt it.
Yeah.
And so being situationally aware of those things, and it's not just the quarterback, it's the coaches, it's the all 11. And so those are the kind of spots where we would hope to see a jump compared to last year because you're having all the same guys back.
Yeah. Tell me about your hometown. Tell me about growing up in this town that we love the name, obviously, but what it was like, and you obviously were a well-known commodity in high school and all through your life now. I'm sure they're proud of you, but what's it like?
Yeah, they definitely are. It's a small town. I mean, it's 30 minutes, 25 minutes east of Raleigh.
Yeah.
And so I would say as a young kid, what you could tell from the whole town is that everybody really loves sports.
Yeah.
So it was a very quintessential, they're all on the same rec teams, and you see the same, like the guys that I'm friends with, I was friends with since I was 7, 8 years old, or even a little bit later into middle school.
Yeah.
So a very close-knit community, and it was whatever season was in. It was football, basketball, baseball.
Right.
Played a lot of
Sports are
golf.
huge, yeah.
It's just huge, yeah. And very blue-collar community, and so they're excited about it, and they just, like I said, everything that we did, and it's a testament to my parents and grandparents, was just revolved around sports.
Yeah.
So not that was the only thing that was going on out there, but it was pretty much year-round.
Now, I mean, when I think of Carolina, I think of basketball,
Yeah.
right? I know there's plenty of football being played there too, but how much basketball did you play growing up?
That was definitely my first love was basketball.
Yeah.
I was my mom went to NC State, my granddad went to NC State, and so I didn't have much love for
Wolfpack.
Carolina.
Yeah. Jim Valvano.
Yeah, no, my dad worked at he worked at NC State,
Sorry.
and so all those national championship teams.
Wow.
So that was huge. I mean, all the Tobacco Road basketball and going to those games. That's for sure. I would say in that area, definitely the first love, but they enjoy the football too.
How did you become the football guy from that? Playing quarterback, I mean, that was your deal, right?
Yeah.
You wanted to be in charge, under center. That was your deal.
It was. I really didn't have a preference. Like I played varsity basketball before I played varsity football, so
Right.
I thought that I would get recruited more as that.
Yeah.
It just so happened going into my senior year, that's when I had a pretty good junior year in football, and so when I was going into my senior year, I had offers or a couple offers in football, but still thought I was going to have my senior season of basketball. Ended up tearing my ACL during the middle of the football season.
Oh, wow.
So never played basketball. At the time, I was already committed to Yale, and I knew, like, how can you pass up this?
Yeah.
But that was really the main transition, was that going into my senior years, having the ability to go to Yale and play.
Yeah.
Kind of put basketball on the back burner.
Can't imagine what you have to do to get into Yale. Was school just something that, from the get-go you just loved and you were always a good student, or like how did that come about? Who was the influence for you scholastically?
I would my parents harped on it. Like we always had
Did they?
me and my brother had to do our homework, and had to get done before anything.
Before you could play, yeah.
Yeah, but it was I did not love school. I was pretty good at it, but I'd never enjoyed it. I would say I enjoyed math up until a certain grade.
Yeah.
But then never really. But I knew that was going to help me. And then once I found out, I didn't really know I was leading like the class to be a valedictorian up until my junior year.
Oh, really?
But I knew once I started getting recruited by Yale that was going to be paramount on getting
where you
accepted.
go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to have that, and I had to actually end up taking the SAT like 3 times.
What was your highest score?
Mid 1200s, I think,
yeah.
somewhere around there. And it took a couple because they weight the valedictorian with the GPA,
Yeah.
and the SAT and all that. So
Right. Weighted classes, not weighted classes.
yeah. So it took a little time to make sure I was going to get admitted.
Well, I mean, it's a tremendous story, and of course, we're going to say this 100,000 times. He's never called a play in the NFL, but in your mind, and the fact that you were in charge of third downs, and did you work upstairs last year, or were you on the field?
I was upstairs last
You're
year.
upstairs, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're the eyes and sort of ears of the whole thing, right? You know in your mind what is called, what you would like. How transferable is that skill when you get to Sunday at 1:00 or Monday night or whenever you're playing that, like, I got to be on this. We got, how it's installed. But, like, will it be, Todd has said, we're going to have a lot of call it situations. You're going up against one of the masters when it comes to disguises and defenses. So you will be well trained in training camp and before you get to the regular season. But what is that like to say it's mine now and I got to make this work?
It doesn't. You can't replicate what it is in a game.
Yeah.
But as much as we can do, which we've already been doing there are quasi call it periods and what we're even doing in phase 2.
Okay.
To be able to get plays calls off that's not just listed on the sheet of, hey, we can go into a standard practice and have 12 to 15 plays scripted, and my mom can come out here and read it.
Right.
But on this, we've already designed it where the next play is at 1st and 10, is 2nd and 7, 3rd and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing that, I think through the preseason, it'll be huge. We'll be able to get some of that in scrimmage elements or whatever it might be during camp.
Yeah.
And then just go from there. I've leaned on guys around the league that I know have called it for the first time. Coach Moore has been a great asset talking to him on.
He's amazing, isn't he?
Yeah, it is. He's unbelievable. And he's transparent about it and talked about, hey, this is where I went wrong or I went right. And he always says it. He's like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you this. And if you want to use it, use it. If not, he doesn't care. So
it's about players, not the plays, right?
That's it. Yep. So he's been invaluable, and I'm just looking forward to it because it is even the element of what we've had over the last couple of weeks. It is. I've heard it's a lot of fun, and it has been even more fun than I thought it would be.
You've been around a lot of teams, and you look at this group here on offense. You have all 5 offensive linemen back, assuming everybody makes it to the starting line, and you have a dynamic young runner in Bucky and a guy that can support him and play third down in Rashad. They added a receiver and Amika, and hopefully Chris makes it back, and Mike can get another year, and the tight end Otten stepped up when he had to. 29.5 points a game, Josh. That's all you got to do is eclipse that, right? Go get them. But I'd feel better knowing what I have under the hood, so to speak, than not, right?
Yeah, I guess that's where don't get me wrong, we want to score as much points as possible. I would say just knowing what we have on the field and how good the coaches are, and that it is, I got to press the button and call the play, but everything that goes into that, leading up to it, I have the utmost confidence in. Yeah. And so now it's just that element of doing that portion of it. Right. And I'm excited about it. I know they are too, and to have everybody back and having the schedule release and knowing who the
first opponent is.
And there we go.
Yeah. So what do you want to get done in training camp leading up to the regular season? What would be a successful off season or preseason, if you will? I mean, I know they got games and things like that. Right. That kind of takes care of itself. But like when you get to Atlanta, say, what are you hoping? Is this becomes the Bucs offense? It becomes Josh's offense. Like, what do you have to? What pieces have to come together for that?
Just knowing that we were able to even hone in on more on the conditioning element to it and putting the pressure on the defense to be able to be the best conditioned team and play harder than them. And that we try to take out if there was any form of a gray area in some of the things we were doing that helps guys play faster. And they know that what we're able to do in the run game and imposing our will on teams, that's the foundation for it. And it's just never guaranteed. It's from starting however many weeks ago was phase 1, and then you got to build it back up every year. And I can promise
you're all back down to the mountain, right?
That's it. I mean, middle of the first quarter, I don't think anybody on Atlanta's defense is going to be thinking, wow, these guys scored 29 points a game last year. That's right. And
they're not the same guys on defense either.
They're not the same guys. I know they added a bunch of guys up front through the draft, and that's just one example of the teams we're going to play. But I know we don't look at it like, hey, we're playing this defense that was the number 1 ranked defense. It's a new season, and you got to prove it again in this league.
They added some toys for you. I don't know if you had any influence in the draft, but we don't know where Chris is going to be week 1. Hope he's back, right? And he's Chris Godwin again. Mike's going to be 32 years old or is 32 years old. So you got some older receivers there. But then we saw, what McMillan was able to do. And now you add, a new kid that can play any position on there. What will he bring? How much flexibility does that give you? maybe the ability to not rush Chris in a situation if he's not completely ready. Like, or do you become a 4 wide receiver team if they're 4 of your 5 best players on the field at the time?
Yeah, ultimately in any personnel grouping, we're fortunate to have trying to put the best 11 people on the field. And if at times that's 11, if it's 12, you saw the 2 backs in Pony last year.
Yeah.
Does that mean 4 wides at time? So you can really get flexible with that because of your question was about Emeka in that what he brings, because he is a very smart football player. He can understand the concepts. He can move around in different positions. So when you can play receiver and you can play what we call the F, the Z, and the X, it allows you to go, hey, so-and-so is not in. You go in. He knows that route. He knows that blocking scheme. And so he can go operate. It's not true with everybody. Not everybody can just do that. So it's a testament to the work he puts.
That's a totally like that. That is the great. I mean, rookies just trying to figure out where the lunchroom is can be a challenge. This guy, he literally is a plug and play guy. You think you have enough confidence that he can figure that out and be that piece, that chess piece, right?
Yeah, we know that he's shown to this point that he is a very smart and tough guy, and he puts the work in. He enjoys it, so he can go learn that. And we like to put a lot of pressure on the defense by, like, you can't really look at it and say Chris just plays a slot or J-Mac plays outside.
Right.
Talking to Mike last year,
you had to move him around.
Mike moved around. You see Mike to the field versus early in his career, it was more like, hey, it's Tripp's right, Mike's on the left. He's outside the numbers, and there's his route. And now you can be in a cut split to the field playing a slot. So they are positions, but we like to move them around and try to put pressure on the defense.
Baker has really got chemistry with these guys now, right? This is his 3rd year with a lot of these players. Do you see that on the grass now? Do you see not just the thinking with the systems, but like the actual – I can read Mike. I can read this guy. I know what Bucky's going to do. He was a rookie last year, right?
Yep. It helps. That's the whole goal of trying to keep the continuity and have that where when we just tell them a route, if there was no coach that was there, for a lot of it, they should be able to know on their own the depth of it, the footwork, what his read is, what his footwork is. So that allows them to do stuff even when we're not here that they were doing before phase 1.
Yeah.
And then in phase 1 when they're able to get their work in. So it helps, and he knows the speed of guys, and that's how they come out of the top of the breaks, and he can correct it himself. And they can correct it. So that's what helps us to try to add a little more scheme to it, because some of the fundamentals, they're there and they can be improved, but you're not just starting at ground zero.
I'd rather have expectations than none, right? And everybody this time of year wants to be and expects to play in the Super Bowl, and it's all possible, right? But this team is, got this opportunity, right? You've been in the playoffs now several years, won a game, got knocked out in the first round last year. Continuity quarterback, continuity of system. What do you think the ceiling is? Are you guys like, because there is this thing out there, I think that people say, hey, you've been to the playoffs 4 years in a row or 5 years in a row, won the division 4 times.
Yeah.
The expectations are there, but I would imagine you like that, you embrace that, and you expect to see this team playing late in January, right?
You embrace that as the starting point for, to your point, how everyone looks at it this time of the year.
Yeah.
And I just know that we have to put the work in now to be able to earn it.
Yeah.
And then really from how we look at it, we know we got Atlanta week 1. And that's
really all that matters.
In the division, they beat us twice.
That's right.
That's enough motivation to get through the whole offseason and be ready for that. And then just keep playing, hopefully set a standard of playing good football and continue that and see where it goes.
We'll have your mailbag questions tomorrow. Appreciate you guys joining us. As always, go see our friends at Brightling Boutique International Plaza Mall. Make sure you check out the 104th year anniversary watches, all 32 teams for the NFL. And when you go there, let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Burstink, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.